Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 27 of the Unstoppable Entertainment Show, the most comprehensive entertainment news show on the internet. I am, of course, Nate Schaffner, otherwise known as the Unstoppable Nate. I do apologize for the long break in between this episode and my last episode. Katie and I have some really big news, and there's a lot going on. And I will get to at the end of this. I will get to that at the end of this episode. But it's very exciting. So with all that being said, before we get started here, I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope you're doing well. And if you like this show, if you like this episode, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, spread the word, tell your friends. Also, if you have a comment, a question, or if you'd like me to talk about certain movies or franchises, you can email me anytime at the address listed in the description of this video. So with all that out of the way, let's get started today with this. So I'm sorry, I should have had this pulled up. So there is going to be a remake. Excuse me just a second. There's going to be a second remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, which a lot of people, including myself, have wondered why. And let me pull one more thing up. Sorry, I should have been more prepared for this. Okay. Okay, so there's going to be a second remake of the Thomas Crown Affair, which, again, is like, why? I used to be completely against remakes. And then but I've also seen a few remakes that have made me realize that if you get the right people, the right creative people involved, a remake can actually be good. Now, the original Thomas Crown Affair, I think, came out in 1968, and it had Steve McQueen and Faye Dunaway. And then there was a remake and then there was a remake in 1999 with Pierce Brosnan and Rene Russo, which was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was decent. And so now there's going to be a second remake that starring Michael B. Jordan. And Michael B. Jordan is not only going to star in it, but he will be directing as well. Now, I have to be honest. Michael B. Jordan is not someone who I would see anything that he's in. He just happens to be in movies that I'm already interested in seeing, if that makes any sense. And his, he really, I think the first time everybody noticed him was in Fruitvale Station, and noticed how great he was in that. And then, but I would say that his star power really took off with the first Creed movie. I mean, he's so good in that, and then he ended up directing Creed 3, which is which I heard I haven't seen, but I heard was great. So now he'll be directing and starring in this remake of the Thomas Crown Affair. Now, I am not someone who, I'm trying to think the best way to say this. I was not interested in this at first. However, there have been several casting announcements regarding this movie that have changed my mind. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published on July 7th by Boris Kitt. This article says, Academy Award winner Kenneth Branagh and Academy Award nominee Lily Gladstone have joined Michael B. Jordan in Amazon MGM's reimagining of the Thomas Crown Affair. Let me see here. So yeah. Now, there's this other bit of casting news, again from the Hollywood Reporter, published that same day, that Danai Gurira joins Michael B. Jordan in the Thomas Crown Affair remake. Now, Danai Gurira is most known for, playing Okoye in Black Panther and the Avengers movies. She was also on The Walking Dead. So, and I say this with all due respect to everyone else involved. The piece of news that got me interested in this was the casting of Kenneth Branagh. I am a huge fan of him. He's a very well established actor and director. I just find I just love his work. And his involvement in this movie says to me two things, because he's so well established in the industry. His involvement in this says to me two things. It says to me, one, that the script is good, and he says, and it also says that he trusts Michael B. Jordan as a director. Because Kenneth Branagh is, and has been for years, an excellent director in his own right. And so for an actor-director like Kenneth Branagh to he's going to be directed by a young up-and-coming director in Michael B. Jordan. That says to me that there's a lot of trust there, that Kenneth Branagh thinks he knows that Michael B. Jordan knows what he's doing as a director. And I say this again with all due respect to everyone else involved. Kenneth Branagh is the standout for me in this, and his involvement in this movie is what has turned me around as far as being interested in this movie. So now I'm looking forward to this. At first, I was like, why are you doing a second remake of the Thomas Crown Affair? But at the same time, like I said, you get the right creative people involved, and it could be good. And that's what Kenneth Branagh's involvement says to me. Danai Gurira playing Michael B. Jordan's confidant in this movie, that's going to be interesting. So I hope it's good, and judging by the response from Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut in Creed 3, I think it could be. I think it will be. And so jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about a second remake of the Thomas Crown Affair with Michael B. Jordan. And Lily Gladstone's going to be in it too. Lily Gladstone, she's obviously, Oscar nominated from Killers of the Flower Moon, so she's going to be in it as well. Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this. So this next bit of news is a couple of weeks old, but like I said, it's been a while since I've been on, and I just wanted to talk about it for a few minutes. This article was published on July 4th, and it's kind of sad. It's very sad, actually. So for those who don't know, Julian McMahon died at the age of 56. Now, Julian McMahon, I have to admit, was someone who I am not too familiar with his work. He was obviously, I think the most notable thing that he was in was the TV series Nip Tuck, which I know my sister was a big fan of that show. I just couldn't get into it for whatever reason. There's not much that I can't get into, and I just could not get into Nip Tuck. Now I knew he was on FBI Most Wanted as well. Now I knew Julian McMahon from the two Fantastic Four movies that he was in 2005 and in 2007, where he played Victor Von Doom. He played Dr. Doom. And unfortunately, I want to be as diplomatic as possible, but the best way I can put it is that Julian McMahon did the best he could with the material that he was given. And given what he was given the material, I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was pretty good. I think the chemistry that he had with the rest of the cast was very good. Unfortunately, those movies weren't very well received. But I just wanted to take a few minutes. I mean, he was only 56, which is too young, and he had, I believe it was cancer that ailed him. And I just wanted to take a few minutes and mention that, and talk about Julian McMahon. I mean, he was too young, and unfortunately, I'm not too familiar with his work, except for those two Fantastic Four movies, which I think is not. I don't think that's fair. It's just one of those things you can't judge his talent simply based on those movies. But I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about and mention Julian McMahon and his passing, and yeah. So I think it's very sad, and he was very young, and he'll definitely be missed. Yeah, he'll definitely be missed. Okay, so let's try to move on to more pleasant things. So for those who don't know, there is going to be a sequel to The Devil Wears Prada, aptly titled The Devil Wears Prada 2. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I love Devil Wears Prada. I love that movie so much. Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Stanley Tucci, my God, Stanley Tucci's so good in that movie. So, um, let me. Uh, so Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci are coming back. I believe that was one of Emily Blunt's, um, it, one of her first, if not the first movie that she was in. So there's been more casting announcements regarding Devil Wears Prada 2. This article is on the Variety, is on the Variety, is on Variety, published by Rebecca Rubin, and this was published on July 8th. So Lucy Liu, Justin Theroux, B.J. Novak, and Pauline Chalamet have joined The Devil Wears Prada 2. There's not much. So there's not much to go on plot details. However, this article does point out about three-quarters of the, well, about halfway down. Though it says, though plot details haven't been confirmed, the story reportedly follows Runway's terrifying editor-in-chief Miranda Priestley, played by Meryl Streep, as she navigates her career amid the decline of traditional magazine publishing. She faces off against Blunt's character, her one-time assistant, who is now a high-powered executive for a luxury group with advertising dollars that Priestley desperately needs. Okay. That sounds interesting. You know, there's a fly. So this sounds interesting to me. It sounds like certain events have happened since the first movie where other people's careers have moved on and certain people have moved up in the fashion industry and things like that. So I'm a big fan of Justin Theroux, both as a writer and as an actor. Lucy Liu, I think the first time I really like Lucy Liu. You know, obviously from Kill Bill and even though they weren't that great, the Charlie's Angels movies that she was in. I'm not familiar with Pauline Chalamet. I have to be honest though, B.J. Novak, other than being on The Office, I am not a fan of B.J. Novak. He comes across as go away, fly. He comes across as someone who I think he seems like he tries so hard to exude talent, and he just fails miserably. I liked him on The Office, but that's it. But that's about it. And that show worked. His talent worked well on that show. But I am excited that we're getting a lot of newcomers to The Devil Wears Prada 2. I'm glad that we're getting newcomers, and it's not just going to be the same characters. You know, with certain people moving up in the industry, you're going to, you know, it just makes sense that there's going to be new characters in this movie. I am very excited for Devil Wears Prada 2. I think Meryl Streep actually got an Oscar nomination for the first one, if I'm not mistaken, which is, you know, duh. She was amazing in that movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know about these casting announcements regarding Devil Wears Prada 2, and are you looking forward to it? You know, what do you guys think about that? So this next piece of news sounds fun. So, um, I I've always I've always maintained that a good romantic comedy can be a lot of fun to watch. I know that's weird for a man to say, but I don't care. Um, if the For me, romantic comedies are all about the writing, and if the writing is good, um, you know, a good romantic comedy can be a lot of fun to watch. So this, on that note, there is going to be a kind of sports romantic comedy um, from director Paul Downs Colizzo, who I'm not familiar with. This article is on The Hollywood Reporter, published on July 10th by Boris Kitt. Hailee Steinfeld will star opposite Miles Teller in Winter Games, a sporty romantic comedy from Paramount Pictures. Now, this article does point out that Paul Downs Colizzo, who is directing this movie, like I just said, wrote and directed Brittany Runs a Marathon, which I heard is really, really good. So this article continues. The story is set in the high-stakes arena of the Winter Olympic Games and, per the studio, centers on a perpetually overlooked skier and a self-sabotaging hockey legend that collide at their breaking points. Their unexpected connection threatens her chance for a medal and his shot at a comeback as they navigate romance and redemption in the Olympic Village. Yeah. So okay, this sounds really interesting. You know, two people who are just they've reached their limit, and they it's judging by this premise, it seems like their their mutual breaking points is are what bring them together. That sounds interesting to me. I am not the biggest fan of Miles Teller. Um, he he comes across, again, he's one of these actors that he just happens to be in movies that I was already interested in seeing. Like, I'm not seeing it just because he's in it. That being said, I loved him in Whiplash, the movie that he was in with J.K. Simmons about the where he played the drummer. He was so good in Top Gun Maverick. He's been in some other things too that I've liked. He just comes across as someone who thinks that he's hot shit and thinks that he's the greatest actor in the world. You know, okay. I love Hailee Steinfeld so much. Um, I'm such a huge fan of her. I mean, she's so completely gorgeous and so talented, and uh, I she was in Sinners earlier this year, and she's great in Sinners. Like, oh my God! Like, it's just one of those things where it was just one of those, like, people forget, or maybe they don't forget. I don't know. She was in the uh, remake of True Grit that was directed by the Coen brothers, and she got an Oscar nomination for True Grit. I believe that's what she got her Oscar nomination for, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just go to the interwebs. Yeah, it was for True Grit. She got the Oscar nomination for True Grit. That starred Jeff Bridges, and then you know, the first, and then I saw her in Bumblebee, the Transformers movie, which she was very good in that, and she's just so talented, and I love her so much, and uh, so her being, I think, um, I think that she and Miles Teller are gonna work well together, and they're um, and this sounds like it sounds like a fun romantic comedy. It sounds, you know, sometimes you just go to the movies to be entertained, and this sounds like one of those movies. And you know, I love Hailee Steinfeld is one of my favorite actresses, and coming from the director of Brittany Runs a Marathon, I think this could be really good. And again, I think Hailee Steinfeld and Miles Teller are gonna work well together in this movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are on Hailee Steinfeld and Miles Teller co-starring in this romantic comedy. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Jump in the comment section and let me know. So a few weeks ago, I talked about the fact that there's this horror movie coming called The Backrooms, which is going to star Chiwetel Ejiofor and Renate Rienzve. And it sounds really good. It sounds really good. So there's been some more casting news regarding that movie. Let's see here. This article is on the Hollywood Reporter, published on July 10th by Ryan Gajewski. This article says that Mark Duplass, Finn Bennett, Lukita Maxwell, and Avan Jogia are joining the Backrooms, with the movie started production this week in Canada. So it started filming the week of July 10th. This movie is going to be directed by Kane Parsons, who will become the youngest filmmaker to make a movie, the youngest filmmaker to direct a movie for A24 Studios. And this will also be his directorial debut. Plot details have not been revealed. I don't know too much about the cast. I know that Lukita Maxwell is on that TV series Shrinking with Harrison Ford, which he actually just got an Emmy nomination for. But I don't know too much about the rest of this cast. I'm excited because they've rounded out the cast, and that obviously means that they've rounded out the cast and they've started filming, so that excites me. And a horror movie starring the talent of Chiwetel Ejiofor. He's one of my favorite actors. I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see a directorial debut from someone so young. That's interesting to me. I hope it's good, and I hope that this director Kane Parsons, I hope that it's good so that his career as a director continues. I'm really excited for this. Unfortunately, I can't offer much more information because I don't know too much more about the cast, other than they've rounded out the cast and they started filming, which means the movie's coming soon. So That's excitement. That excites me. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this casting news. Are you familiar with this cast? What do you guys think about this movie coming? Jump in the comment section and let me know. So another movie that I talked about a few weeks ago, and there hasn't been much information on it since, is this new supernatural romantic thriller movie coming from M. Night Shyamalan that I wish I was more excited about. But M. Night Shyamalan, at least in my eyes, has dropped the ball too many times. Like, I'm gonna have to wait and see what the word of mouth is about this, what the word of mouth is about this movie. Now, so this movie is going to star Jake Gyllenhaal, and this story was co-created by M. Night Shyamalan and Nicholas Sparks. There's going to be a movie and a novel, so that's interesting. So I want to make sure I get my information correct. Okay, so there's been more casting news regarding this movie. First of all, we have a title. It's going to be titled Remain. This article is on Deadline, published on July 10th by Anthony D'Alessandro. I'm going to get this fly. One way or another, I'm going to get it. This article says, M. Night Shyamalan's new supernatural romantic thriller, Remain, has added Ashley Walters, Julie Hagerty, J.O. Sanders, and Tracy Ifeachor, from The Pit. So that's regarding this casting news. Look, J.O. Sanders is one of my favorite character actors. He was in The Day After Tomorrow, Kiss the Girls, Edge of Darkness with Mel Gibson. He was in Revolutionary Road. He's a wonderful, wonderful character actor. Julie Hagerty, from Marriage Story and Airplane. That's great. I don't know too much about Ashley Walters. But I can't say much about Ashley Walters, but Tracy Ifeachor is on The Pit. And actually, I don't think she's coming back for the second season of The Pit. My wife Katie and I and our friend Mandy have been watching The Pit, and we love it. Love The Pit. And Tracy Ifeachor has been great on The Pit. And so it's great to see that she's going to be transitioning from TV to film, and she's going to be in this M. Night Shyamalan movie. That's awesome. So I really like this cast. God, I hope this movie's good. In my mind, M. Night Shyamalan could really use a hit right now. His last couple of movies his last number of movies actually have not done it for me. you know, the last movie, I think the last movie of his that I saw in the theater was Old, which was terrible. God, that movie's fucking boring. Oh my God. M. Night Shyamalan could really use a win in my eyes. I hope this movie's good. I really like the cast. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this cast and this movie, and you know that M. Night Shyamalan is doing with Nicholas Sparks. What do you guys think about that? Jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this. So, there's been more casting news. Moving on here. There's been more casting news regarding Practical Magic 2. I love Practical Magic so much. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I love it. Love it. So, first of all, there's been more casting news regarding Practical Magic 2. This article is on CBR, published on July 11th by Lee Freitag. About halfway down, this article says Diane Wiest and Stockard Channing are set to return for Practical Magic 2. Diane Wiest has been one of my favorite actresses for a long time. I saw her in the Woody Allen movie Bullets Over Broadway. You know, don't speak. And she's great. And you know, I like Stockard Channing too, and Stockard Channing is so good in Practical Magic. So I'm glad that both Diane Wiest and Stockard Channing are coming back. Now, this article does go on to say, additionally, Lee Pace, Maisie Williams, Zolo Mariduena, and Sully McLeod have rounded out the ensemble in undisclosed roles. Joey King has finalized her deal to play Sally's daughter. Okay, great that Joey King's going to be in it. I really like Lee Pace. You know, I know that he's on that Foundation TV series, which I've heard is not... It's not faithful to the material. I'll just leave it at that. But I like him, you know, from him playing Ronan the Accuser in Guardians of the Galaxy, and him playing the Elf King in the Hobbit movies. Maisie Williams, you know, obviously being from Game of Thrones, she's incredibly talented. I want to make sure. Zolo Mariduena was in the DC movie Blue Beetle, which is awesome. The Blue Beetle movie is great. And I'll say this. Look, the previous DC Universe film franchise, I think it's safe to say, didn't live up to its potential. There are more bad movies in that previous franchise than good ones. Blue Beetle is one of the good ones. Blue Beetle's great. It was kind of this Blue Beetle's really good. They kind of the effects in that movie, the cast, I just bumped my microphone. Zolo Mariduena is so good in that movie. I know the previous DC film franchise didn't live up to its potential, but if you haven't seen Blue Beetle, please check it out. It's so good. Solid McLeod coming off The Dead Don't Hurt. I'm really looking forward to this movie. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm glad that everybody who was in, or at least most everybody that was in the original, is coming back for this one. I think this is going to, at least, I can say this personally, I think this is going to be a great date night movie for me and my wife. And I think it could be really good. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about these casting announcements regarding not Devil Wears Prada 2, Practical Magic 2. Let me know what you guys think about that. So, this next bit of news is a bit disappointing. For those who don't know, I a few weeks ago, a number of weeks ago, I talked about the fact that there's going to be this film adaptation of the Colleen Hoover novel Verity, that is going to be directed by I believe Michael Showalter. Now, and it's going to be this psychological thriller, and it sounds really, really good. Anne Hathaway, Dakota Johnson, Josh Hartnett. It sounds really good. That movie, Verity, has been delayed. So it's been delayed to October 2nd of next year. It was originally going to be released, I believe, in May of next year, but it has been delayed. To October. Sorry, to October. This article is on MovieWeb, published on July 10th by Richard Fink. And this article basically says that Verity has been delayed to avoid competition with Devil Wears Prada 2, because Anne Hathaway is going to be in that movie too. And I think that's a smart move. I think Devil Wears Prada is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge hit. And I think if you release Verity too soon, if you release Verity too close to Devil Wears Prada 2, nobody's going to see Verity. Everybody's going to go see Devil Wears Prada 2. So it was smart to move Verity. It's also too, it sounds, given the plot synopsis of Verity is going to have a significantly different target audience. It's unfortunate that it's going to be delayed, but the reason makes sense. So I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit. It sucks that the movie's going to be delayed, but it makes sense. You don't want to compete with The Devil Wears Prada 2. You just don't. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. Excuse me. This next bit of news also is is disappointing, but it also makes sense. So for those who don't know, there was going to be a a Black Superman movie. I believe. I want to make sure I get my information right. I'm sorry. So, there was going to be a Black Superman movie that was going to be directed, or at least written by Ta-Nehisi Coates. And it's so there have been two prominent characters in the comics there have been two Black Supermen in the comics. Two characters who have been a Black Superman. There was Val Zod, and then there was Calvin Ellis, who was so Val Zod became Superman after the original Superman of that Earth died fighting Darkseid. And then Calvin Ellis, he was also the president of the United States on his Earth. And then he was a member of the Justice League Incarnate, who was a team of superheroes from across the multiverse. So basically, it's unclear which character they were going to go with in this Black Superman movie. But there was going to be basically this Black Superman movie was going to be written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and it would have focused on a Black Superman in the Civil Rights era, which that sounds interesting enough to me. Like, take my money now. So, and J.J. Abrams, who directed Mission Impossible 3, he directed the first two of the newer Star Trek movies. He directed Force Awakens, The Rise of Skywalker. He was going to produce that movie. And Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers in 2022. And he killed the project. He canceled the project. But there were reports that said it had a possibility of coming back, but there was no movement on it. It was basically people were wondering whether it was even going to happen. So this report is on Screen Rant, published on July 11th by Felipe Rangel. And this article says, hold on. This article says, the Black Superman movie has been canceled. David Corenswet's take on Clark Kent just debuted in the new DC universe. The highly anticipated film is making waves at the box office already, surpassing projections, which could lead to Superman recouping its budget and then some. While the DCU has its own Superman, another version of the character was scrapped. According to a new DC report from the Wall Street Journal, the Black Superman movie by writer Ta-Nehisi Coates was canceled for being, quote-unquote, too woke in the eyes of Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav after he assumed the studio back in 2022. The planned Superman movie reimagining would have focused on a black Superman in the civil rights era. Okay, so this is unfortunate. I want to say a couple of things about this. First, I hate... Okay. In my mind, the word woke has been demonized. In my mind, the word woke means to be aware of what's the word I'm looking for? Racial prejudice and discrimination. I think that's the best way to say it. That to me is what woke means. And when I hear that word, people now use it like, oh, it's too woke for me, too woke for, And I'm like, okay, to be woke means to be self-aware and to be aware of these injustices, right? Shouldn't we all be woke? That just makes sense to me. But people use it now in a very kind of like it's wrong to be woke. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So the idea of a black Superman movie, the idea of a black Superman movie being canceled a black Superman movie being canceled, I'm very flustered today, I'm sorry. A black Superman movie focusing on a black Superman in the civil rights era being canceled for being too woke makes no sense to me. That makes no sense to me. To me, that sounds stupid. You could have had a Superman movie a black Superman in the civil rights era that focuses on racial prejudice and injustice. That sounds interesting. I'd love to see that movie. But you're going to cancel it because it's too woke. Okay, whatever. That sounds stupid. It's fucking idiotic. However, it does make sense to me. What does make sense to me is that we will only have one Superman in the DCU, in this new DC film entertainment franchise. That to me makes sense. I still think that they could have done this movie as like an Elseworlds thing, like Robert Pattinson's Batman movie, like the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. You could have done that. So I just wanted to vent a little bit and say, like, the idea of this movie being canceled because it's too self-aware of that's stupid. It's stupid. Just do the movie anyway and do it as an Elseworlds thing instead of being a main part of James Gunn's DC universe. But at the same time, I understand from a continuity standpoint. I somewhat understand from a continuity standpoint that DC, as a film entertainment franchise, they want to reestablish themselves. You don't want to confuse people. I don't know. I mean, it sucks, but I don't know why. Just do it. I don't know what they're thinking over there. They could do it as an Elseworlds thing, sure, but at the same time, you want to reestablish DC you want to reestablish them as a brand name, and you don't want to confuse people. Robert Pattinson's Batman came out before this new DC film entertainment franchise, so it makes sense to keep going with that. You don't want to bring in a new Superman now that we've just had a new Superman, so you don't want to bring in another one and confuse people. I kind of get it, but at the same time, I don't. But just this thing that it's being canceled because it's being too woke, that's stupid. That's idiotic to me. But I just wanted to vent about that and talk about it a little bit. I don't know why they couldn't do it as an Elseworlds thing, but who knows? I'd love to ask. I think that's a fair question. Why couldn't they do it as an Elseworlds thing? So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit and vent about the word woke and what that word actually means, because I think it's been demonized quite a bit. But anyway, just jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this Black Superman movie being canceled. What do you guys think about that? So there's been this next bit of news is really interesting. So there is a live action Legend of Zelda movie coming. It has been delayed. I think it was originally going to come out next year, but it's been delayed to 2027, which, kind of sucks, but if they want to get it right, I get it. Well, there's been casting news regarding the live-action Legend of Zelda movie, and that casting news is this. So, this article is on CBR, published by Scott Baird, and this was published 4 days ago. So Nintendo has officially confirmed the two actors who will be playing Link and Princess Zelda in the upcoming live-action movie adaptation of the Legend of Zelda franchise. This article goes on to say, in a post on the official Japanese Nintendo Twitter X account, Shigeru Miyamoto has announced that the casting for the two main roles for the Legend of Zelda movie has been completed. Princess Zelda will be played by Bo Bragason, and Link will be played by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. Ainsworth is currently in his teens, while Bragason is in her early 20s. This article does point out that given the age of Ainsworth and Bragason, this could hint at the Legend of Zelda: The Ocarina of Time being the story that's adapted into the movie. So this is what I have to say about this. I am not familiar with either of the Bo Bragason or Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. And I love that. I love that these are two, as far as so Benjamin Evan Ainsworth has appeared in the TV show The Sandman. He also did the voice of Pinocchio in the 2022 movie. I think that was the one with Tom Hanks as Geppetto. Bo Bragason, she did voice work on Final Fantasy 15. But neither one of them are virtually unknowns as far as American audiences are concerned. And I love that. Because I think casting relative unknowns in this movie is going to benefit this movie, because you'll be able to I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, but when you're watching unknowns, it's easier to see past the actor and see the character. Whereas if these were more well-established British actors, maybe maybe American audiences would that would be a little more difficult. But I think casting unknowns, you benefit from seeing more the character than the actor, and I think that's wonderful. I hope this movie's good, especially if, like this article points out, this could hint that we're getting the Ocarina of Time as a film adaptation. I hope this movie's good. I really want it to be good. And, you know, the casting of Link and Princess Zelda says to me that they're at least starting to ramp up pre-production, which is, you know, they're planning the shots, the storyboards, the costumes, everything. They're in the process of doing that, and that excites me. We're halfway. The movie comes out in 2027. We're already halfway through this year, so it's coming. It's coming, and this movie's either going to be great, or it's going to piss off a lot of people. Personally, I hope it's the first one. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about this casting news regarding the Legend of Zelda live action movie. All right, so moving on here. So a couple weeks ago, not a couple weeks, but several weeks ago, I would say, I talked about the fact that that director Robert Eggers, who most recently made the remake of Nosferatu, which was awesome. One of his next movies is going to be a werewolf movie. And it looks... There's this article here that talks about more casting news, some casting news regarding that movie. This article is published on CBR, published 5 days ago. Um, and this werewolf story will be Robert Eggers' next project. About halfway down this article says Nexus Point News is reporting that Aaron Taylor Johnson and Lily Rose Depp are set to reunite with Eggers with roles in Werewolf, the director's next film. The movie is a werewolf horror flick set in England during the 13th century with Old English dialogue. So both Aaron Taylor Johnson and Lily Rose Depp were in Nosferatu, and they were both great in Nosferatu. So this article goes on to say that reportedly Aaron Taylor Johnson is set to play the titular werewolf, while Lily Rose Depp will portray his wife. Ooh. While not many other details about the project have been revealed, it's said to feature quote-unquote elements of witchcraft. Oh, that sounds awesome. It's also being described as one of the goriest projects to ever be developed by Eggers so far. Yes! I am such a gore hound. Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't know what that says about me, but, you know, I'm a gore hound. What can I say? Elements of witchcraft and gore. That door just opened mysteriously. Hello? Okay. So, anyway. Are you coming in, Remy? Is the dog coming in? So, anyway, this sounds awesome to me. A werewolf movie, witchcraft, one of the goriest projects to ever be developed by Robert Eggers. Sign me up. Aaron Taylor Johnson is one of my favorite actors right now. I just saw 28 Years Later, and it's great. And he's great in it. And Lily Rose Depp is unbelievable in Nosferatu. I am so excited for this movie. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about this. Let me get up and close the door. Hold on. Oh, did you open the door, Benny? Oh. Okay. Okay. Hello. Okay, so this next bit of news is interesting. So I've been talking over the past number of weeks about this live action Street Fighter movie remake, and the cast is bonkers crazy. It's just like, what? And this movie's either gonna be great or fall flat on its face. So there's been more casting news regarding the Street Fighter remake. This article is on MovieWeb, published 4 days ago by Patricia Abaroa. Let's see. Legendary Entertainment's anticipated Street Fighter live-action film is continuing to assemble its group of fighters. Indian action star Vidyut Jamwal is the latest addition to the film, set to portray the iconic Dalsim, the limb-stretching yoga master from India. This will be Vidyut Jamwal's Hollywood debut. He is a well-known actor in India, recognized for his action roles and expertise in martial arts, and has starred in numerous films in India, including the popular Commando and Kuda Hafiz franchises. Okay, so they've cast the character of Dalsim. Okay. Um, I can't I can't say much about this honestly because I'm not familiar with Vidyot Jamwal. All I know is that all I can say is that they've, in terms of casting, the casting director. I want to meet the casting director for this movie and just ask them, what are you on, and can I have some? Because the casting for this movie is insane. It's insane. It's so off the wall. Um, and I think it's great that this actor is going to use a Street Fighter movie to introduce himself to U.S. audiences. This is it's sure, why not? Um, I hope this is good. I would see this movie in the theaters simply based on the cast in this movie alone. This is crazy. Um, I'll tell you this: it can't be any worse than the one in '94 with Jean Claude Van Damme. It can't be. It's impossible. Actually, I didn't really hate that movie. I didn't like it. I liked it this much. This much. But anyway, so they've cast Dalzim. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing what this movie actually is. Um, and, whether it's any good. So jump in the comment section and let me know what you guys think about all the casting news so far regarding this Street Fighter remake movie. So, speaking of Lily Rose Depp, this next bit of news is interesting. So, I would say as a science fiction fan, I love alien invasion movies. I love movies with aliens. Ships, the alien ships, I just love alien invasion movies. And I love creature designs and all that stuff. So there's this an alien invasion comedy movie from the Zellner brothers, who were involved in this project called Sasquatch Sunset. This article is on Deadline, published on July 15th. This article says, it was published by Matt Grobar on July 15th. This article says, Chris Pine, Lily Rose Depp, Kelvin Harrison Jr., and Duna Bay are new additions to the cast of Alpha Gang, the alien invasion comedy from the Zellner brothers. So, this article goes on to say that Alpha Gang follows a group of alien invaders sent to conquer Earth. Disguised in human form as a 1950s leather-clad biker gang, they are ruthless in their mission until they succumb to the most toxic and contagious human condition of all: emotion. Awesome. Sounds awesome. I like Chris Pine very much. He was so Hell or High Water. He was so good in that. He was obviously great in the Star Trek movies he was in. He was in the film adaptation of Into the Woods, and he was he was so funny and so good in Into the Woods. Agony, and anyway, And I just talked about Lily Rose Depp. I think she's a very I think her career looks very promising, to say the least. Kelvin Harrison Jr. is one of my favorite young actors working right now. I think his career has a bright future as well. I'm not too familiar with Duna Bay, probably because she was in the Zack Snyder movies, the Rebel Moon movies, and I have heard tremendously awful things about those movies, and I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm good. I'm good. But this alien invasion comedy, this sounds wonderful. This sounds wonderful. I can't wait to see this. Maybe Chris Pine is going to play the lead alien and or the captain. I just aliens succumbing to emotion. That sounds very funny and very very cool to me. And like I said, I'm a sucker for alien invasion movies. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I like this cast. So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this movie. Excuse me, just a second. Okay, so if I can get my computer to work. Come on. Come on. Hold on. Okay, so this next bit of news is pretty awesome. So, for those who don't know, as of 3 days ago, in the history of cinema, there are 58 movies that have surpassed $1 billion at the box office. I personally have seen all of them. As of tonight, I will have seen all of them. Not necessarily all of them in the theater, but I have seen all of them. In the history of cinema, there have been 58 movies that have surpassed $1 billion. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Steve Saig 3 days ago. Disney's Lilo and Stitch, that's the remake of Lilo and Stitch, the live action one, is making Hollywood history after crossing the $1 billion mark at the global box office. The live action animated film's grand total sits at $1.001 billion through Wednesday, making it the first major motion picture in 2025 to do so. So yeah. Awesome. Now, I've talked about in the past. Lately, I have been very picky about the movies that I go see in the theater. Mostly because, for a number of reasons. One of those reasons is that there's a lot of garbage out there. The live action Lilo and Stitch. So let me say this. There have been a couple movies recently that I was not interested in seeing I was either not interested in seeing at all or not interested in seeing in the theater. Either because I wasn't interested or the reviews weren't that good. But they ended up making $1 billion. So I was like, well, if it's made $1 billion, then I have to see it. Like, what's all the fuss about? You know what I mean? And one of those was the animated Super Mario Brothers movie, which I actually kind of liked. That movie's as a Mario fan, that movie's awesome. You know, it's pretty. I kind of liked it. So the live action Lilo and Stitch, is one that I was like, you know what? I'll wait till it's available on Disney Plus. And I have heard. I've heard that they changed things from the animated one. My wife Katie is a huge fan of Lilo and Stitch. You know, and I love the movie too, but my wife is it's just like on another level. Like, she falls asleep to that movie. She knows that movie backwards and forwards. And so in terms of seeing this live action, the live action Lilo and Stitch, now that it's made $1 billion, I'm like, well, we have to go see it. You know, now it's made so much money. You know, we have to go see it. So we're going tonight to see it, and we're looking forward to it. I think she is less looking forward to it because she's heard. We've both heard things about what they do with this live action version of it, that like they change things from the original animated one. It's just like, really, that's what you're doing. But at the same time, it's like, well, you know, maybe it's made all this shit ton of money. You know, let's go see it. So I told Katie, I was like, I told her, I said, after we see this movie, my first thought is going to be, what did you think of the movie? Like, what did she think of the movie? Because she's a fanatic about the animated one. So I'm going to want to hear her opinion on this new one. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that for a minute. You know, it's the 58th movie in cinema history to make $1 billion. As of we're going at like 8:00 tonight to see it. So now I'll have seen all 58 movies that have surpassed $1 billion at the box office. So I think that's a pretty cool milestone, if I do say so myself. Go away. But yeah, so we're going tonight. We're looking forward to it. Lilo and Stitch making $1 billion. Awesome. Good for Disney. So I just wanted to give my thoughts about that really quick before I move on to this. So there is going to be so Will Ferrell is going to be in a new action comedy movie. And he's going to co-star. Let me just read this article here. This article is on Joe Blow, published by Kevin Fraser 4 days ago. Deadline reports that Ryan Gosling and Will Ferrell are set to star in Tough Guys, a new action comedy in the works for Amazon MGM Studios. The project comes from a spec story written by Daniel Gold and follows two henchmen who are tired of being disposable and break free from the criminal underworld, rewriting the rules as they build a new life on their own terms. So a spec story is I just I want to tell you guys because it says this project comes from a spec story. A spec story is basically somebody just somebody just sat down and wrote a script without any pre-existing arrangements or payments. I guess like nobody paid this guy to write. It was basically like some random person, Daniel Gold. Yeah, Daniel Gold just decided one day to sit down and write this story. That's what a spec script, that's what a spec story is. So, Will Ferrell and Ryan Gosling being in an action comedy, two henchmen who are tired of being disposable and break free from the criminal underworld, rewriting the rules as they build a new life on their own terms. Okay, first of all, I have to say this. Will Ferrell was in this other action comedy back, I think it was 2013, with Mark Wahlberg, called The Other Guys. And it's really, really good. And it's really, really funny. And, you know, I'm not the biggest Will Ferrell fan, but he's so funny in that movie. At least, you know, and the other thing I wanted to talk about, in terms of action comedies, Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, I think it came out last year, was The Fall Guy. And nobody went to go see that for some reason. Like, that movie was a major financial flop. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, my wife Katie and I went to the theater to see that, and it's great. Please, guys, if you haven't seen The Fall Guy, do yourself a favor. Of course, after watching this show, watch The Fall Guy, because it's awesome. And that movie, you can tell that Ryan Gosling can do action and can do an action comedy. So I you know, and Will Ferrell being in The Other Guys, I love that these two are going to be going to be doing this together. Especially, you know, I think Ryan Gosling being in a movie with an established comedic talent like Will Ferrell, there, you know, it's one of those kind of, it's going to be great to see an established comedic talent and a new as far as action comedies are concerned, a relative newcomer to the genre in Ryan Gosling working with an established name like Will Ferrell. I think that's going to be great, and I think that's going to be very funny and very entertaining, and I'm really looking forward to it. So jump in the comments section and let me know what you guys think about this piece of news. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I talked about this supernatural film called Other Mommy, who it's about this malevolent presence that emerges, and, you know, can I go inside your heart, and, you know, and Jessica Chastain is going to be in it. So there's been some casting news regarding that movie. This article is on Deadline, published on July 17th by Matt Grobar. Sean Kaufman from The Summer I Turned Pretty and Adam Silver from The Diplomat are new additions to Other Mommy, director Rob Savage's supernatural horror film for Universal and Atomic Monster, that yesterday announced 8-year-old Arabella Olivia Clarke as its lead. Character details are under wraps. So Arabella Olivia Clarke is going to play the main character. I'm not too familiar with her, obviously, because she's only 8 years old and probably therefore hasn't done much work. I'm not too familiar with Sean Kaufman or Adam Silver either. Again, what I will say is that the casting news being ramped up for this means that they're going to be starting to film soon, which is exciting for me as a horror fan. And this sounds very cool to me, this supernatural presence. You know, can I go inside your heart? That sounds like, oh, like I'm going to love that so much. But I don't have much more thoughts to offer other than to say, again, you know, the casting means they're going to start filming soon, which is exciting. So I just wanted to give my thoughts on that real quick. And so jump in the comment section and let me know if you're looking forward to this movie. What do you guys think about the casting? Jump in the comment section and let me know. Okay, so my last episode I talked about the fact that the live action Akira movie that was at one point going to be directed by Taika Waititi has been canceled. Well, it looks like Taika Waititi, according to this article is on Verity, published by Rebecca Rubin on July 17th. He's replacing Akira with Judge Dredd. This article is on Variety, published by Rebecca Rubin. Taika Waititi, the Oscar-winning filmmaker of Jojo Rabbit and 2 Thor movies, has set sights on his next project. He's attached to direct Judge Dredd, a feature film about the British comic book character, Variety has confirmed. Drew Pearce, known for Fall Guy and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, will adapt the screenplay. The project doesn't have a studio attached and is being shopped around Hollywood. Okay. So a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I think Taika Waititi is an extraordinarily talented filmmaker. There isn't much that he's done that I haven't liked, that I haven't enjoyed. Other than there was this soccer movie that he did called Next Goal Wins, which wasn't very good. And I've enjoyed the 2 Thor movies that he did. I loved Thor Ragnarok. Thor Love and Thunder was pretty good. At least in my opinion. It was a step down from Thor Ragnarok, but I still thought it was pretty good. So, in terms of Judge Dredd, another Judge Dredd movie. So there have been 2 previous film adaptations of Judge Dredd. I think the unfortunate thing is that the one with Sylvester Stallone in 1995, as a Judge Dredd movie, it's terrible. as an action movie, it's awesome. But they did certain things in that movie that's just like, that's not Judge Dredd. Like, they just made it another Sylvester Stallone action movie. And again, by that, on as a Sylvester Stallone action movie, it's awesome. As a Judge Dredd movie, it's terrible. Rob Schneider is... He almost made that movie unwatchable for me. Then, there was the 2012 movie called Dredd, which starred Karl Urban as Judge Dredd and Olivia Thirlby as the rookie cop. That movie is bloody awesome. Nobody saw that in the theater because, for whatever reason, that movie was only released in 3D. That movie's fucking awesome. I was like, wow, they got it right. And Karl Urban is so good. And it's unfortunate that we'll never get a sequel to that Judge Dredd movie, because that movie's awesome. Taika Waititi doing a Judge Dredd movie. My concern is... So, they have the writer of Fall Guy and Rogue Nation writing this movie. Great. Those movies were extremely well written. My concern is there's a satirical nature to Judge Dredd as a character that, as far as humor goes, like, it seems to me, if you've watched particularly if you've watched any of Taika Waititi's movies, Taika Waititi has a very distinct sense of humor. And Judge Dredd as a character has a very distinct satirical nature to it. I think the key to this movie, the key to Taika Waititi directing this movie, is to lean less into the Taika Waititi humor and more into the satirical humor. That is my only concern. I would love to see... I'm very interested to see this movie, to see what this script is going to be, because I'm such a huge fan of the Karl Urban Judge Dredd movie. That was brilliantly written and directed. The satirical nature of the character is key for this project, is key for this movie. If they don't nail that, then this movie's going to fall flat on its face. That is my only concern. Taika Waititi is an extraordinary filmmaker. You have the writer of Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, and Fall Guy. Great. You got to nail the satire. That's it. That's my only concern. Other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing what this movie is going to be. And I'm glad, again, I love my Marvel and DC stuff. I'm glad that we're getting Judge Dredd again. I'm glad that we're getting the more independent stuff. So we'll see where this goes. I'm glad that we're getting another Judge Dredd. I'm concerned about, are they going to get the humor right? So jump in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on Taika Waititi directing another Judge Dredd movie. Last bit of news here. So I've talked about in the past that there's going to be a Friday the 13th prequel series titled Crystal Lake. And I've been wondering, there have been questions like, what is this movie going to be? Is this going to be an origin story for Jason? Is Mrs. Voorhees going to be the villain, going to be the killer like she was in the original movie? What is this movie going to be? Well, it seems that as far as casting goes, we've gotten some clues as to what the story could be. This article is on Verity, published by Joe Otterson on July 18th. Peacock's upcoming Friday the 13th prequel series has added 5 recurring guest stars. Now set to appear in the series, titled Crystal Lake, are Callum Vinson, Nick Cordeleone, Joy Soprano, Danielle Koch, and Phoenix Parnevik. Callum Vinson will play a young Jason Voorhees, appearing alongside Linda Cardellini, who will play Pam Voorhees, Jason's mother. So it appears that, as far as whether, I was personally wondering, is the character of Jason Voorhees even going to be in this show? Not that mattered whether or not I was going to watch it, but I was just curious, as from a story perspective, whether Jason was going to be in this show, and it looks like he is, which may or may not give some clues as to what the story is going to be. Linda Cardellini, I love her. Is this? Are we going to see a story about, was Jason Voorhees somebody who was scarred from a very young age? What happened to this kid? Again, this is a case of more casting news means that it's going to start filming soon, and that gets me excited. And it's also exciting that this isn't going to be a reimagining. This is going to be a prequel to the original film. And that's that excites me, because the original film, in my opinion, is the best of the bunch. So jump in the comment section and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this cast. I'm not too familiar with any of them, except for Linda Cardellini. It's kind of cool that we're going to see a very young Jason Voorhees in this show. What do you guys' thoughts are? Jump in the comment section and let me know. So, as far as news goes, this is the end of this week's episode. And I mentioned that my wife and I, Katie, have received big news. And I will tell you what that news is. And I'm telling you because, first of all, it's very exciting, and 2, it will affect this show. First of all, let me just say, it affects this show. It doesn't affect the show in a negative way. So, basically, for maybe 5 or 6 months. So my wife Katie and I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We moved out here. So we are both originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. We in 2013 we moved to Pittsburgh so I could finish my education, and from Pittsburgh, we moved out here to Albuquerque, New Mexico, so I could work in the film industry. I made some friends, made some connections, and Katie and I moved out here. And I think the best way I can put it is that my film career hasn't really panned out in the way that I thought it would. I don't know where I thought my film career would be after 5 years, but it's not this. It's not what it is now. I thought I would be further along. And I've talked to a good friend of mine, Candace Perkle, or Percal, I'm sorry. Actually, I really have no idea how to pronounce her last name. But I was talking to a friend of mine who I met on a film set, and it's just a rough industry right now. Like, nobody's getting work, and the fact is that it's a cruel business. It's a very cruel industry. And so basically, for the past, I would say, couple of months, there have, especially over the past month or so, there have been things happening here in Albuquerque that have made Katie and I decide we'd really love to move back to Ohio and settle down there, and that's where we're going to stay for the rest of our days, for the rest of our lives. And as you can probably tell, I am a little flustered. I am a little anxiety riddled today, so I do apologize for that. We have been busy getting ready we have been busy packing, and we are leaving. We are heading home. We are heading back to Ohio on the 25th, on July 25th. Katie got a job. I am looking to I am transferring, hopefully transferring. I think it'll go through, but I am transferring jobs to Ohio, so we're moving back to Ohio. And we're very excited and very happy that it's happening. Now, that will... So, we haven't really worked out... Like, we're either going to be staying with friends. Katie may be staying with friends. I may be staying with my mom and my sister. We haven't really set that in stone yet. So we're going to be staying with friends and family while looking for a house to rent in. We're going to be moving back to Mason, Ohio, which is where which is in Cincinnati. I'm just a little flustered and stressed out, as you can probably tell. Got a lot going on. So we're going to be staying with friends and family while we are looking for a house to rent in Mason or in South Lebanon or somewhere in the Cincinnati area. So while we are staying with friends, I won't be with friends and family. I won't be able to do this show. I will not be back on until we have found until we found a house to rent in the Cincinnati area, so that when we find the place, we can unpack all of our stuff and get situated and settle down and get everything unpacked and so on and so forth. So I don't know when that's going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be soon. I just don't know when. So I thought I would let you guys know that this is not the end of the aptly titled Unstoppable Entertainment Show. This is merely a long delay. So I will be back with plenty to talk about. It's just, again, a matter of when. I don't know when. But rest assured, I will be keeping up with entertainment news so that I will have plenty to talk about when I come back. So I just wanted to let you all know that is what's happening. That is why it's been a week and a half since my last episode. That's why it's been so long, is that we've gotten this news where we've had to start packing, let everybody know we're leaving, let everybody know we're coming home, transferring jobs, getting new jobs. All this stuff has been happening, and that's why it's been a week and a half since my last episode. But I also want to let you guys know that until we get settled in a place of our own, I will not be back on. And again, this is not the end. This is merely a long delay. So, but I will be back. It's just a matter of when. And I hope you guys enjoyed this week's show. I apologize for the delay since last week, and I hope you guys are patient enough to wait for the next episode again. And I don't know why I keep saying this, probably because I'm flustered, but I hope you guys are patient enough to wait for the next episode, because I don't know when that's going to be. I love doing this show. I love voicing my thoughts and opinions. So until then, maybe I'll see you guys at the movies. Maybe I'll see you at Lilo and Stitch tonight. I am going to go see... at some point, I'm going to go see F1, the Brad Pitt Formula One racing movie, and Superman. So maybe I'll see you guys, see some of you then. Maybe not. Who knows? But until then, until I return, I hope you all have enjoyed this week's show. Spread the word, tell your friends, and I'll see you all at the movies.